Today we are honored to welcome William Mulvaney to the show today. I'm very excited about this. He is an endurance racer, and on the show we talk about all aspects of wellness. And I always talk about the mind being the foundation, right? So having a mental resilience, strength, perseverance, that this is all about. And I'm very excited to have you on the show today. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me, Anthony.
Awesome, man. I'm very curious to hear your story and how you got into this and building mental resilience and how that all started for you.
Yeah, so I've never actually run an ultra yet. I'm training for my first one, and the way I got into that is one day I was driving and I had this thought that I was like, you should sign up for an ultra. And then later that day, I was kind of bored. I was sitting on the couch and I just started looking at them. And I have a problem where I will like commit myself to things ahead of time. And so I just signed up for one. I just found one and I just signed up without really thinking about what that entailed. And in doing that, I knew if I sign up for this, I'm paying money for it and I'm like putting a hard commitment in. And I knew it was something worthwhile. Like if I do this, I'm going to be happy that I did it, no matter what happens. Like I could break my leg and I would still be like worth it. Like I know that going into it. Um, And so by kind of having that separation between, okay, I'm signing up now, but I don't have to really think about it yet, that let me do that initial commitment where, okay, now I'm in it. And then a few weeks later, I had to like get serious and start a training plan. And that's where I'm at now is, like getting deep into that training plan.
Awesome, man. So it sounds like that commitment kind of got the ball rolling for you, right? Because a lot of us in our lives, we commit to things on the surface, right? But we don't actually do it. We just kind of do it for that immediate gratification. It sounds like that was a big motivator for you.
Yep. Yeah, there are a lot of ways that you can create these kind of artificial commitments, but that actually have depth. Another way that I've done this in the past. So last year, 2024, I was doing a lot of fasting. I would do like a 3-day fast every single month, just as like a practice. It was like a fun, not fun, but a disciplinary practice where I'm like, training myself and I'm practicing something difficult. And there was one month where I was having a really tough time. I would start the fast. I would get to like one day in, and I don't know, Anthony, if you've ever done like a long fast, but your brain starts to come up with like tricks. Like it gets really smart and clever, and it like comes up with reasons why you shouldn't be fasting. That's my experience, at least. Is my brain would think of something that was like, oh, like you have to run tomorrow. You have like jujitsu tomorrow. You shouldn't be fasting. You should wait until after that. And so what would happen is I would like start the fast, make it a day, and then I would eat in this like trickery. Like I would fall into it and I would break the fast and then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to start it, tomorrow. And this happened a couple times to the point where I was like, okay, these are all excuses. These are, my mind is just tricking me into stopping the fast. And so I sent my friend like $500 on Venmo and I was like, don't send me this money unless I make it until Friday, like until I do the whole fast right now. And basically the agreement was if I don't do this, I'm going to lose that money. So that was another way where like I knew I was going to hit that point a day in, 2 days in where I didn't want to, I wanted to stop the fast, break it early. And so I used that commitment where like, okay, I'm committed. I put this money down. If I don't do this, I'm going to lose that money.
I like that, man. I actually go on a 5-day fast twice a year, and I can relate to that in a sense. Like for me, like I kind of do the same exact things while I'm fasting or when I'm not fasting. Like instead of maybe 4 sets to the gym, I'll do one, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
train in jujitsu as well. So it's like is during that you have to balance the mind and the activity. I find.
Yeah, for sure. Do you, yeah, what is your training like when you are fasted? It's just
Yeah.
less
So
volume?
typically I'll just do less of it. Like I said, maybe 1 set instead of four.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to do a lot of introspection and walking as well. Like I know, like, when you're in that fast, you just kind of have this clarity that you don't have when you're off the fast, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's a great time to do introspection and ask questions. So,
Yeah, it is interesting how food like breaks up our day. It's almost like punctuation points throughout the day, and it's also something that we will like unconsciously just look forward to. Like there's always kind of this lingering like, okay, what's for dinner? What's the thing I'm going to eat later in the back of my mind? And when I fast, that goes away. So it's almost like a whole element of my life is just pulled away. And then, like you said, there's like clarity because there's so much space there that I don't have on a day to day basis because there is that constant, like, every 4 hours food. And there's like thoughts about food and planning around, okay, what am I going to eat for dinner? What's the plan there?
I feel that. I mean, because when you're not like on that schedule, you just have so much more time for other things. So,
Hmm.
like, a lot of time opens up and you can do like deeper work as well.
Yep, 100%.
So, when it comes to mental resilience, what are the keys to actually developing this? Because I feel like there's a lack of grit in our culture in a sense,
Hmm.
but it's not something that you're born with it. I feel like it's something you can definitely develop.
Hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Um, I think it's something that you can build up, and it's also something you can lose. Like it's like a muscle. It atrophies if you don't use it, but you can also grow it if you practice it. Um, yeah, this came up the other day. I was talking with a coach that I'm working with right now, just kind of like a general life coach. I forget what his official like title is. His name is Anthony Messina. If anyone's interested in coaching, he's like an awesome guy. Um, but we were talking about how sometimes it's easier to lie to yourself than it is to other people. So if you make a commitment to someone, that can be harder to break than if you make a commitment to yourself. But then when we dug into that a little more, we realized like there are people who will make commitments to other people and then break them. And the thing that happens there is it's like a slippery slope. And this goes for both cases, whether it's with yourself or with someone else. When you start breaking commitments, it gets easier to break commitments. So if you imagine you go to jujitsu 3 days a week, every single week, and you've made this commitment to yourself and you never miss it, like you'd go like, a year straight of doing this, it's going to be really hard for you to break that. Like on week 53, you're probably not gonna, like you might have a day where you're tired, but you're like, okay, I've done this for a whole year straight. I've never broken this commitment. I'm gonna follow through with this. Whereas if on week 2 you break the commitment and then you like start going again, and then week 8 you break the commitment, like if you're not following through with it regularly, it gets easier to break commitments. So I think a big problem we have is not honoring our word to ourselves and not practicing following through on those commitments.
100%. I love that. Keeping your word to yourself is so important. Like strength and honor. That's what I talk about a lot. And that's just like living in line with integrity. It's so important. It's really the foundation of everything.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's just so easy to let it slip. But yeah, it's just a good reminder that like when you live in integrity, you build up that muscle, which is integrity, which is that like I'm gonna live the way I want to live,
Definitely.
just because that's the way I live, and like you said, you have that honor.
And it is a muscle, like you said. Like you can have this virtuous circle in a sense, or you can have this downward spiral, right? Because if you keep doing these small negative habits, it makes it easier to do those things. But if you keep building up these positive habits, it makes it easier to do those things. So it's kind of like this muscle memory in a sense.
Hmm.
So along those lines, you do endurance racing, is that right?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say I'm like an endurance racer, just because like I'm doing my first ultra. I've done like marathons in the past, but it's more of like a something I challenge myself with. But it's not like a regular component of my life. I like to like pick up things and pick them up as challenges, and yeah, so this is one of those.
That makes sense. So when you're training and you're going through these things, like what is exactly going through your head? Do you find like there's a lot of doubts you have to overcome yourself in a sense?
I think the biggest issue for me is I have like a lot of dread around workouts. So lately I've been pushing my workouts into the night. And that's partially because I was like sick last weekend. And so like early mornings, I was just trying to get as much sleep as I could. But then I find that like during the entire day, I'm thinking about like, oh, I have to do training later. I got to run however many. Today it's 7 miles. I got to run 7 miles later. And it's like a constant thing that I have to remember. And I do find myself dreading it a bit. So I think that's the biggest struggle I have, which is like, how can I relax into that? And how can I be okay with the fact that, okay, I'm going to run later. That doesn't mean I have to like ruin my day or feel anxious about it because
Right.
like it's going to happen. And I also know that like running itself is not that bad. Like when I'm actually running, I'm like, okay, this is fine. But it's the build up to the run and it's the whole anticipation that is painful.
Definitely. That makes sense. I mean, what I find what helps me is like being purpose oriented, right? Like having a strong mission, a strong why, and really like knowing who you're doing this for. That personally helps me like overcome all things. Does that help you too?
I mean, having like this big goal at the end of it, like the 100 miles, is that keeps me doing it. Like when I'm talking about this dread, it's like I know I'm gonna do the run. I'm just like anticipating it and not excited for it. But certainly having like this big race, 100 miles at the end. I even have like, my girlfriend and my friends are going to help me with it and help pace me and be like a crew for me. So it's like, I know I'm going to do this. And that itself is enough motivation for me. Just knowing like, okay, I signed up for this race. A bunch of people know about it. I'm going to have to follow through with this. And if I don't train, I literally probably can't do it. Like, I don't think I could physically do 100 miles without training. So I know I'm going to follow through with the training, but it's still that whole dread game is a whole thing.
That makes sense, man. So when you're faced with these obstacles and these doubts, uh, how do you persevere through them, right? Because we all face challenges, we all come up against things. How do we move through that and get to the other side?
Yeah, I think like you said, having a bigger why, like having a reason for what you're doing, having some like skin in the game. So for me, like when I write down stuff or when I make a plan, it's much more likely that I'm going to follow through with it. Versus if I just have an idea that's like, oh, I want to work out more, or I want to run more, or I want to go to jujitsu more. Like, I'm probably not going to follow through. I'm not as likely. Or like when the alarm clock goes off, I'm less likely to like, pop out of bed and get moving if I don't have something that I like seriously planned out ahead of time. So with a lot of those like doubts and struggles around like going through difficult things, I think it takes work ahead of time in order to like, plan out and understand why you're doing what you're doing. And once you have that part done, it's a lot easier to get through those. But if you don't have that done, you're going to have a lot more trouble when that moment comes. So it's like it's an avoidable thing that you have to prepare for.
Absolutely. So it sounds like preparation is the key, in a sense, to overcoming these things.
Yes, it's that what is it? An ounce of oh boy, I forget the phrase now. It's like an ounce of avoidance. It's not avoidance. It's a different word. Is worth a pound of
Discipline.
fear.
Yeah, I believe it's a ounce of prevention is worth a pound of
Yes,
cure.
prevention. That's the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where like you can just grit your way through that hard moment, but it's going to be a lot easier if you can actually kind of avoid that moment coming up by having like a strong why and a strong determination. Because like our minds they only entertain thoughts if we think we can get away with it. So like if I know 100% that I'm going to run today, I'm not going to like try and talk myself out of it because my mind already knows like there's no point in trying that because this guy's already going to do it. Like we're not going to be able to stop him. So once you have that ahead of time, you don't actually run into those moments as much.
That makes sense for real. Uh, what are the keys to preparation, right? Because a lot of us, we don't really prepare for the big things in life. You know, they're saying like stay ready, so you don't have to get ready, right? But also, I feel like there's a method of preparation. Is there anything that works for you?
Um, I mean, prioritizing it, like putting time aside for preparation. Like for this race, I realized like 2 weeks ago ish, that I wanted to like lose weight for the race because I've held on to a decent amount of muscle for the past. I've been working out for like 5 years, and I realized going into this that like if I lost weight, running 100 miles would be a lot easier, right? Like it's just less that I have to carry. So if I could be 10% lighter, it would be basically 10% easier to run 100 miles. So I could just like say that, okay, I want to lose weight, but what does that really do? So prioritizing, okay, I actually want to lose weight. I'm going to put time aside. And so I did. I put time aside, and I like put together a spreadsheet where I calculated, okay, with all the miles that I'm running, this is how much I need to eat in order to get down to the weight that I would like to be at by race day. So like being serious about things, and like when you want something, actually sitting down and like, okay, I'm going to put some time into thinking through how I can make this happen.
That makes sense. I feel like the power of self-assessment is key as well. Like, yeah, because if you have a goal in mind, it's good to plan it out in a sense, like having these micro goals along the way that, or these milestones that help you get there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like milestones, getting these small wins throughout the day, which kind of come from your habits, and these gaining this momentum in a sense to really reach your goals. Uh, that's what I find is making that forward progress every single day.
Yep. Yeah, definitely having some kind of like for me the milestones are just going to be like weight, uh like checkpoints, I guess. Like, oh, this at the end of this week I would like to be this. At the end of this week I'd like to be this. And just keeping up with that. I think daily weighing weighing yourself daily is like I've heard that it's like the biggest um like life hack for losing weight. It's just weigh yourself daily. Like they've done studies where they have one group that doesn't weigh themselves and one that does, and they don't do anything else. And the one that weighs themselves just loses more weight just because they're aware of it. They have self-awareness.
Yeah, I mean, that forward progress kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of integrity, like really keeping your word with those things.
Hmm.
And, you know, there's another saying like what we practice in private is what we're rewarded for in public. And, you know, we do these big accomplishments in our life, but we don't really look at the underlying factors that are keeping these people there, like in this virtuous circle of success. And it's really their habits.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely true. And yeah, it's tricky because like you do all these things and no one notices. And that's true for anyone who's successful. I've begun to notice that people are not just successful because they're like that, they're born that way. They're just like cool and good at stuff. It's because they know how to grind and how to like follow through and stick with things and be consistent. But you don't see that part. That's kind of just the background that they're going through every day, but no one actually knows about.
Yeah. I mean, mental toughness plays a big role in that, like, because we're all going to have things that come up in our lives. And I feel like your state of mind is perhaps the most important thing. Like, our state of mind is going to determine whether we give in to fear or utilize courage to make our dreams a reality at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like fear is a big topic, you know, like
Hmm.
overcoming our fears. Because we all have fear. Like, of course, fear is going to be present, but courage, of course, is feeling that fear and doing that thing anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. That's so I told you about this like cold approach thing that I went through right before this podcast. We talked about it. Um, but yeah, that was the whole thing, and that was when I was helping with coaching, I would lead a group of guys every Saturday. We would go out and practice approaching women and like being honest and expressing genuine attraction. And that's like so scary. It's like I went through it myself, and then there came a point where like I was a little more comfortable with it, so there was less fear. But then new guys would come in, and I would see it. Like we would talk. There's one specifically I'm thinking about. I was in Whole Foods with the guy, and we're talking about this whole thing, and like, oh yeah, this is like how I like to go up and talk to women, and we're talking back and forth, and then we see an attractive lady, and I'm like, hey man, do you want to talk to her? And I saw the way the like fear itself gripped him, and he just like went white and was like, I don't know, man. And like it's so visceral. It's such a like real reaction. And that was like the reason I liked coaching guys on that, because like that was the focus, was like how can we be more aware of what's controlling us and that fear. Because the thing is, like, the fear feels so real, and it feels like it's stopping us, and it feels impossible, but it's not real. Like it's not actually stopping us. It's possible to move through it and to just like accept it and allow it. Like, okay, I'm afraid right now, but I'm still walking towards this girl, and I'm still gonna go talk to her. So learning how to, like you said, feel the fear and do it anyways, that's it's so hard to even imagine when you're in the state of fear. But once you go through it and you understand it more, you realize like, okay, this is kind of like a whole story being made up. It's just an emotion. It's really just like a feeling in my body, and it's not something that has to determine how I act.
100%. I like that, man. Like when it comes to confidence and like in all realms, I really like talking about becoming the greatest version of yourself. You know, like health, wealth, relationships. Are you actually taking aligned actions with your values every single day? Are you living on your purpose, right? And having integrity, all these types of things. Like, I just feel like if we own this moment, you know, like if we just focus on self-improvement, all these types of things, like you just take that confidence everywhere that you go, and it just makes things so much easier.
Yeah, 100%. There's like a inherent confidence when you are living in integrity. There's some Mark Twain quote that was like, if the man who, what was it? The man who never tells a lie doesn't have to remember what he said, something like that. But it's basically just this like bulletproof nature of like when you live in integrity, you don't have to worry about like things like that, because you're just, you know, like, okay, I live in integrity. I have confidence in that fact.
Yeah, I mean, you know your worth, and you just pursue your goals because you know that's what you're here for, you know, and overcoming yourself every single day. It's a thing that never ends, but knowing that, it's important to enjoy the process as well.
Yeah. So how do you like think about purpose? How do you come at
Yeah,
that?
so purpose, I feel like for the foundation of it is growth and service. I feel like it applies to everyone, but now however everyone expresses that is going to be different, right? So I also feel like it's all encompassing thing. Like I said before, becoming the greatest version of you. So health, wealth, relationships, this ultimately optimizing your life in a way that you're designed for, and then cultivating your gifts and being of service with that.
That's a good one. You got to understand what you're good at, understand what your natural gifts, and then figure out how to use that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so much of us are cut adrift, man. And I talk about the Matrix a lot. Like basically, like we have so many distractions going on. We have to be careful of what we're watching, what we're listening to, all these types of things, man, because it really influences our actions at the end of the day. We have a lot of beliefs that we're carrying around that are disempowering and not even ours. Like we're carrying on beliefs from a long time ago, and we don't necessarily do the power of self-assessment to analyze if they're helping us reach our goals or not. And real talk, like many of us have beliefs that are keeping us depressed.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into those. I was traveling a lot of last month, and part of the month before, I've kind of just been like in this like state of movement the past 2 months, and I just got back home and I'm like getting back into a normal routine. But I realized how easy it is to fall into these kind of like traps of entertainment and just taking in what's going on and not being super intentional about what I'm like spending my like free time on, my time that I'm not spending working or like doing specific things. That idle time, I was starting to let stuff creep in, like watching YouTube videos or watching whatever on Netflix, and just not being super aware of what's coming in. And it was because I was in this limbo state of not having a solid routine. But I do think also that it's possible to maintain both.
And it's so easy to do, man. Like, it's so easy to like get on these get caught up in these things, and we just keep going down that rabbit hole, right? Because there's so many different distractions, and that's why it's very important to be rooted in your purpose. Because once you know these things, then it's that much easier to be aware of them. And if you do begin it, to stop it that much faster. We can talk about resilience as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other piece is like a sense of empathy or compassion for people who are caught up in it. Because I know for myself, in the past, I've been like a monk at certain points in my life where I'm like so disciplined and I'm just like on top of everything. And I'm not proud of it, but there are times where I've like looked down on people who are like, caught up in scrolling Instagram or doing whatever and spending all this time on their phones and eating shitty foods. But going through it myself and seeing like, okay, this is the trap. This is how easy it is to fall into that. I feel like I get a better understanding of what people are going through and that people are genuinely suffering. Like, this isn't like a fun thing for them. They're going through something, they're caught in something, and yeah, I understand it a lot better.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in that immediate gratification as well, like, because we can either, have the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And, if you do the hard things out first, then you get the results that you want in life, right? I'd much rather have that life than do the easy thing and not get the results I want. I ultimately think that's harder than, living a life of virtue at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's going to be less fun, I would say. What are your, like, how do you keep yourself on a straight line in this
Yeah,
regard?
man, like I said, so what's coming up right now is meditation. I do a lot of mental training, and I'm always asking myself empowering questions throughout the day to keep myself on track, keep my thoughts and emotions on track,
Okay.
and being aware of my mental state. Because I know that things are going to throw me off throughout the day, but how fast and how quickly can I come to center and be resilient, right? Because I know that I'm on a mission every single day, and that mission is going to guide me, right? I take actions according to my value system, and really being in tune with that, knowing who you are, knowing your standards, and like I said, things are going to come up, but just staying on track and doing the best that you can to stay in that high energy state is the most important thing.
Yeah. What is your mission outside of the podcast? Like, what is your
Yeah, so my life mission, man, is I've had to sum it up right now. Keeping the things we talked about of purpose in mind before, like that all applies, but it's essentially to bring the tools of wellness and personal development to people to become the greatest versions of themselves. And within that, it's important to be the model, be the change. And that comes through your daily actions, right? And we all have good intentions for the most part, right? But are your intentions backed up by your actions every single day? So I know that being a model and a light for other people is very important.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think there's plenty of people who talk the talk and then aren't necessarily in the trenches every day doing the things. And yeah, it's good. I think that is the first thing everyone should focus on, is like, if you want to help other people, okay, get your own life straight. Make sure you're set in your ways. Make sure everything's going good there. And then the way I believe in it is like you have the strongest influence on first yourself and then the people very close to you, right? Like your immediate circle. That could be your partner, it could be your close friends, it could be your family. And then your influence will spread through from that center. And you can, like, yeah, trying to start from the outside and like, okay, I'm gonna have a big influence to a big audience is like you can do that, but you're gonna have the most influence on the people right around you. So maybe focus on that. And that's yeah.
Goes back to those small wins, man. Just doing what you can in the moment. And I remember like people always asking me questions about health and wellness, right? Because they knew I was always studying, always applying in my life. But then I started a website, started writing. Kind of goes beyond that, the podcast, things like that. So you just gotta start where you are and believe in yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what's your number one like physical wellness
Yeah, I do all the things, man.
practice?
Like I've talked about this recently. Like I do all the fancy biohacks,
Uh-huh.
red light, cold therapy, saunas, whatever. The number one thing that helps me, man, is being out in nature, being in the grass, getting sunlight, fresh air. That is the number one thing I do. I do it 30 minutes a day, uh, at least, and it's a great time to clear your mind. This is a great
Mm,
time to focus on your purpose because, like I said, we've talked about before, all these distractions, man, it doesn't exist out there. I mean, I guess it depends on where you are, but for the most part, nature, it's going to be free and clear of those things and getting connected with what is real at the end of the day. And I mean, because we talk about nutrition and exercise very frequently in culture and it comes to wellness, and it should be. But
mhm.
most people neglect the other things, like are you getting in nature, are you getting sunlight, fresh air, all these types of things that actually play a critical role in your health.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I need to get out in nature more. My runs have gotten me outside, so that's nice. I have that kind of built in. But yeah, man, that being out in nature is whenever I do, it's so nice. It's like, yeah, it's cleansing.
100%, man. So when it comes to developing mental resilience, can you define that for us? And also, how do we begin to cultivate that in our lives?
So developing it. So I mean, so what it is. I mean, it's the ability to like go through these like difficult moments, right? Because I think the way we do things is we go on a path, we have some momentum behind us, and we just kind of move along. And then at a certain point, there's going to be friction. So like you're going on a long run. That's going to be my example for today. I run a mile, and I'm kind of just doing it on autopilot. It's not difficult necessarily. I'm just moving along the way I have been. This could also be like you started a business and it's going well and you're just moving along. But then at a certain point, you're going to hit some kind of friction. So maybe I'm running and all of a sudden I feel super tired. I've been having this around like mile 2 of all of my runs lately. At the second mile, I get this feeling of like low blood sugar and like jitters. And that's like the type of thing I'm talking about. Like I run into some kind of wall, some kind of resistance. And I think that mental resilience is like what happens when you hit that. Um, how you build it, I think goes back to what we talked about earlier is practicing it and becoming the person who is able to handle those kind of things. Because like you won't always, there will be times where the resistance gets the best of me. That happens plenty of the time. There will be times where I plan things that I don't follow through with. Those things will happen. But overall resilience is like, how good am I at avoiding that? How good am I at actually getting through these difficult moments?
I love that, man. And it's always a process as well. Like you said, you have to become the type of person that can handle those things. I really like that because it kind of goes to everyday training, whether we're working our mind, working our bodies, and because we want to be ready for those moments, especially if we're on the personal growth path. Like we kind of expect that, right? So kind of learning from those moments as well, so we can kind of assess it and move through it the next time is key too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely learning from it. Again, like planning ahead is gonna make things a lot easier. If you plan that you're gonna run 5 miles and then you're at that 2 mile mark and you hit this friction point, you're probably gonna like fight through it and push through. But if you were just like, oh, I'm gonna go for a run, and then you hit this point at 2 miles where you're super tired and don't want to keep going, you might just stop because you didn't plan ahead.
100%, man. Like for me, resilience is like it's that as well, but it's how quickly can you bounce back from something, right? Because
Mm.
if we get into some type of trouble or whatever, some type of failure, how quickly can we get back on the mission, right? Like, how can we not beat ourselves up? Can we forgive ourselves? Can we have that strength of character to keep moving forward and not be down for days or however long?
Yeah, man, it's kind of it's really nice when you do recognize that like, okay, something bad happened, but guess what? Everything else is still the same. I can still keep going forward. Like I had this over the weekend. I was sick after like flying. I think I caught something and didn't sleep a lot, so I was under the weather. And I had 2 days where I just like I did my runs and I did my meditations, and that was it. That was like the only productive things I did. And I was beating myself up over it on Sunday night, just feeling like, well, I feel like I wasted a weekend. I did not get as much out of this as I could have. And then I had this recognition that, like, okay, nothing else has changed. I still have the ability tomorrow to pick things back up and just, like, keep moving forward, keep going. And there's something beautiful about that like you always have the option to move forward. There's always like, no matter what happens, you might be beat down and have something bad happen, and maybe you've missed a year of, physical fitness where you just dropped it. There's always the option, like, to pick it back up and move forward.
100%. Like, if you have a failure, don't let it spiral. Like, don't let anything else in your life go wrong, right? Because you have this solid foundation. It's okay if something gets messed up, right? Because the rest of your life, it's not in shambles, right? So it makes it easier. You have this solid foundation to step off of and get to the other side.
Yep, 100%.
Definitely. A thread that's been throughout this is commitment, right? What does commitment mean to you? How do we actually develop this internal resolve to get things done?
Yeah. I mean, commitment in itself is just like a decision. It's a statement that I'm committed to this thing. I'm going to do this thing. So like, if I'm committed to my partner, I'm telling her that I'm committed to you. I'm not going to pursue any other like romantic relations in any way. It's a commitment, that it's a decision from here. Like, this is a thing I'm going to do moving forward. And like I said earlier, there's two types of commitments. There's commitments to other people, and then there's commitments to ourselves. And I think for most people, it's easier to break commitments to yourself. It's harder to break them to other people. That's like when I was fasting, it was harder for me to break the commitment when I sent money to my friend, but it was easier when it was just me doing this in private. So developing that resolve, again, I feel like it's the same thread that we've been going down, but it's just this practice. It's like setting yourself up and honoring your word to yourself, honoring your word to other people, taking on that identity, like was kind of mentioned before, of like, I'm someone who follows through. That's something I've tried to, it kind of naturally comes up for me, which is like, let's say you told people you were going to do something, and now you're like kind of like, I don't really know if I'm going to follow through on this one. It could be as simple as like, okay, I told my friend that I was going to hang out with him on Friday, and now I'm super tired. It's Friday afternoon, and I don't really know if I want to. In those moments, just like recognize who you are being in both cases. And it's like, do you want to be the person who honors your word, or do you want to be the person who their word doesn't really mean that much? And for me, it's always been, I would rather be the person who honors their word. And I would rather that people can depend on me when I say something, that this thing is going to happen. And the only way that you have that is by doing it and practicing that. And also not giving your word too freely. Like, don't promise too much. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where you have to break your word.
100%, man. Saying what you mean, meaning what you say. And also, like, as you just mentioned, be careful with what you say. Your speech matters. And don't just say things just to say them. If you're going to say you're going to get it done, actually make sure you can get it done. and do everything in your power to make things happen as well.
Yep, that's one thing I have learned is that when people are when someone says something that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Like, that's something to be a little hesitant around, or if they say something where you're like, oh, wow, that's amazing, and it's like got this like magical allure to it. Like, be careful around that kind of thing. There's a lot of that around like business. A lot of like coaches will promise like, oh, we'll do this and this for your business in 3 months, or like personal transformation, we'll do this for you in 3 months. Be careful around those kind of promises because they're usually like over promises.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like it starts with a decision, right? And if you look at the word decision, it's Latin, de is like a derivative and side means it cuts. So you're really cutting off the possibility of anything else. Like most people I find are just hoping things will happen or wishing. But when you make a firm decision, like this is going to happen, then you actually put your life force into that. You put your energy into it. And you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about those life-altering decisions, man, it's like it's ultimately like working up to that in a sense as well, like making sure you're becoming decisive every single day with the decisions that you make and becoming the best version of you. And when those moments do happen, you're ready for it in a sense. And really being a good decision maker is so important in life.
Yeah. Do you have any like big decisions you've made that were like life altering recently?
Recently, and I feel like I have to make big decisions every single day, honestly, just where I'm at in my life right now, like entrepreneurship and all that. It's like I really want things to work out. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it's like I also know I have to have high involvement, low attachment, meaning like control the things I can. And I'm a huge proponent of Stoic philosophy, which is essentially like accepting the things you cannot change while focusing your energy towards your actions, mm-hmm. right? So I just focus my energy on my decisions every single day. Like how if I do fail, how can I recover? How can I just keep going, man? And that's the thing. I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And that's a thing like if you're mission oriented, that's easy to do, but I find most people just don't do that. And just having ability to trust the process and not rush it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we struggle to decide on because there's not a clear mission. I think that's 100% true. Like, I went through this about a little over a month ago. I decided to finally leave my full-time job. And it was like a decision that was hard to make. Like, I knew I wanted to leave for like almost years before that, but if I was clear about my mission, it never would have been even a question. Like I would not have taken that much time. I would have just done it because the mission was never like, oh, I want to save up money and work at this job that I don't really like that much. That would never have happened, but it's because I wasn't clear on the mission that the decision was hard. So most decisions that we have to make that are like life-altering, challenging ones, if you get clear on like what's the purpose, what's the long-term goal in this, it's very clear which one is the right option. Usually it's just comfort or fear that's kind of keeping us in that, like keeping that option on the table.
Absolutely, man. Clarity is so key. Like having clarity in our lives for the ability to make decisions, that's very important. And the more like space we develop in our lives, like I said, as an entrepreneur, I'm doing a lot of things, but I also know the importance of having white space during your day, like time where you're just kind of thinking, giving yourself a space to think, think things through, think through your options. And then when you're ready to be about that action, man, you're getting things done for real. And just having time in solitude, all these things coincide with each other. Like you need to have this ebb and flow action and then inaction in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, having that open space is I'm a big proponent of having some time to just like be and not have any stimulus.
Do you have any keys to kind of develop clarity in a sense?
I think bouncing ideas off other people is important. I have a good friend who like when we hang out, it's like we're just like talking through ideas, and like he like is comfortable challenging me, and by him challenging me, I have to like fight back for my idea from nothing. So that's one again where like it's easy for me to convince myself that something makes sense, but getting like true clarity on it is like telling it to someone else and having their perspective and seeing whether or not it actually makes sense, because I have to like explain it and fight for it. So I think that's a good one. Is like have friends who are honest with you, and like talk through your ideas, talk through what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it, and that can really help with making decisions and getting clarity on them.
100%. Stress testing your ideas, right? Because it's important to believe in truth. And we have like these internal obstructions, if you will. And, it can be based off past experiences, trauma, whatever it is. And, kind of overcoming yourself in a sense to get to what is real. And
Hmm.
like you said, bouncing ideas off each other, people who are high quality in terms of their growth and their mission, and you have your best interest, like that's invaluable. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Yep.
I find, you know, when it comes to clarity as well, it's also about assessing your beliefs, right? Because as I mentioned, like we have these beliefs or things that we're carrying around that are no longer serving us. And if we do this internal work in a sense, um, it goes hand in hand with like the mental toughness and the grit and all that, because I feel like we need to operate from a clear foundation too. And once you do that, it makes it a lot easier to do these hard things and develop mental resilience as a solid platform.
Yeah, for sure. What how do you evaluate your own beliefs? Like how do you decide what you're going
Right.
to believe in?
Is it in alignment with my goals or not? Is it going to help other people? Is it in terms of growth and service, right? Like we can take wealth, for example. Um, I think wealth mindset is so key. And the wealth mindset doesn't just apply to money, it applies to everything, like abundance, right? Are you operating out of scarcity abundance? Are you having a growth orientation in life? Or are you having this fixed beliefs that you can't really change, you can't really grow based off of past experiences, right? Because a lot of us, we hold on to these past experiences and we keep it as this is going to be our future. But the reality is, if you take 100% responsibility for your life, you get to decide what happens next. So, okay, this thing happened. Okay, what is going to happen next, right? And having full agency over your mind, body, and spirit, that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Mm, full agency. Yeah.
Definitely, man. Uh, Goals. So, this is very important to have as like a milestone throughout the day in our lives, right? And do you have a specific goal setting process that you believe can help people, or any tips on that?
Mm. I mentioned the coach I've been working with, Anthony. We just set kind of like 3 goals a week in our session, our weekly session. We just maybe it's not like three, but it usually ends up being three. It's more just like, okay, do you have any goals for next week? And so that's a good one, is having some kind of accountability and then setting just some, okay, these are 3 things I'm going to get done in the next week, or these are 3 things I'm going to have completed. That's huge. Um, Beyond that, probably having some kind of higher, like beyond the weekly scale, you can have like more like uh, higher level goals, like monthly or yearly, however far out you want to go. I at this point I'm not really thinking that far out. I'm probably thinking like 3 months out. Um, I have my ultra marathon. I have a business that I'm trying to get off the ground, and then I have my relationship, and I have goals there. Um, but yeah, I think just having goals in general, having some kind of idea of what you're moving towards, is probably better than not having any goals. And like the system itself isn't that important as long as you have them.
That makes sense. Like it's generating this forward momentum, right? And
Hmm.
like taking these positive actions, like being generative in our life. Like, is what I'm doing actually going to help somebody? Is what I'm doing actually making a contribution, right? And also improving ourselves, because the more we grow, the more we can give, in a sense.
100%.
So, yeah, I like to think of goals like I have a process that I do every single year, SMART goals. That's kind of a common process, and it's kind of reviewing your goals. Just keeping them top of mind as well, and understand like it's important to know your process, right? Like customize it to you in a sense, and really keeping the why and the importance of them on top of mind. And it's okay if you don't reach all of your goals, but do everything that you can to make it happen, because it's really about the person you become in the process as well, because this is a pursuit, and success is a result of the person that you become.
Yeah, I have an interesting question for you. So I was telling my girlfriend about 3 goals I had set with my coach and how I wasn't going to hit one of them. Like I was trying so hard, but it was like I didn't think I was going to be able to hit it. And her perspective was like, you shouldn't hit all your goals, because if you hit all your goals, then you probably didn't set like lofty enough goals. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Should you set your goals because you know you'll hit them, or should you be a little bit like...
So I think there's different types of goals, right? Like I feel like you have some goals that you should absolutely know you should hit, and then I feel like you should have some stretch goals. Like this is gonna I have to actually do some work for this one. I have to actually develop some character traits that I may not have. I have to be more resourceful, right? Do I think you should reach a goal or set a goal you absolutely know you cannot hit? No, that doesn't make any sense. Like you want to have different types of goals, but also have some that you actually need to actually grow in order to reach, in a sense, right? And even in that, control the things that you can, because you can't always control the outcome, I find, but you can control your effort at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the like shoot for the moon. No, shoot for the stars. No. Aim for the moon. Aim for the stars. Land on the moon. That took me so many tries.
Shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars.
Ah, okay, never mind. So that's it. Yeah, there's a good, speaking of jiu-jitsu, Nicholas Marigali, there's a good story about him from 2022 where he was like best in the gi in the world. And for non-jiu-jitsu people, the gi is like the pajamas that you wear in jiu-jitsu. And there's gi and then there's no gi. And they're almost like separate sports by how much different they are. And so he's like the top gi competitor in the world. And then he makes this jump over to no gi. And his goal in the first year he's in no gi is to win ADCC, which is the top no gi competition at the time. And what happens is he goes through and he gets second place. And it's like this insane accomplishment, but the only reason he got second place is because he was crazy enough to like shoot for first. So it's one of those stories of like he had this insane goal that like no one, if anyone had seen that, they would be like, no, you're like, of course you can't do that. You can't just switch sports and then be the top guy. But he was like, no, that's what I'm going for. And then he got second.
I love him, man. Well, this has been awesome. I really enjoyed this interview, man. Like I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Talking about mental resilience, grit, like the internal work, man. It's so important, because your inner world will create your outer world. And developing these character traits to actually reach your goals and live the life of virtue that you want, that's where it's all at, man. That's everything I talk about. So I appreciate you so much for coming on today, man.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you.
If people want to connect with you and your work, where can we find you?
Yeah, the best place is going to be either YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts is the Willpower Podcast. Or you can just look up William Mulvaney. I should come up on stuff. Or WilliamMulvaney.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you again for coming on and sharing all your insights with us. It's been really awesome. Appreciate it.
Sweet. Thank you, Anthony.